Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to a best-of-3 series of top-level StarCraft 2. It's time for a Zerg versus Protoss. We're in game number 1 in the top left-hand corner of the map, going for what seems to be a 15 hatch first. We're looking at none other than Reynor's main hatchery, and his opponent in the opposite corner with the red Protoss pieces, he goes by the name of MaxPax's. Alrighty, if you're a fan of European ZVP, it doesn't get much better than these two playing against each other. MaxPax's, of course, well, statistically at the very least, according to Ligulek, the highest ranked Protoss in the world. And Reynor, who seems to have been putting in quite a bit of work as of late to get back to that level that he was at during Gamers 8 in about, I want to say about July or so, August maybe of 2023. He dipped in a little bit after that tournament, but with a bunch of big events on the horizon, Reynor decided, okay, it's about time we start putting in the work once again. So this particular series is from the Masters Coliseum, the first premier tournament of 2024. It's about a $42,000 event, so yeah, these two are certainly gonna be trying their very best, right? Not a whole lot of online cups will give you that much money. So this is an event, if I'm not mistaken, that is fully played online. So you get to just wake up, chill in the morning a little bit, play your games of StarCraft 2, and, well, try your hardest. Alrighty, so, will we see any spice? I don't think that Reynor really is the type of guy right now who's playing a lot of aggressive strategies. MaxPax's has really never been like that. Obviously, Protoss in the early game is relatively aggressive in general. You will see adepts, you will see oracles flying around, that sort of thing, but in general, Protoss is just aggressive because they need to be, right? They need to try and slow down that Zerg economy. If it's up to the Zerg player, the reason why Protoss needs to be aggressive, and well, Terran needs to be aggressive against Zerg as well, is of course because of that larva mechanic, right? Already, we see loads of workers all at the same time, and well, if the Terrans and Protosses were not aggressive against the Zerg, Zerg would simply go up to about, well, probably 100 workers. If there was like a 15-minute no-rush rule in StarCraft 2, they would probably go up to about 100 drones and then finally start making army. And obviously they can get to that, well, massive economy significantly quicker than a Protoss player ever can. Don't underestimate Chrono Boost, though. Chrono Boost is actually pretty insane. You can get a lot of workers going. Obviously not quite as many as the Zerg, but there we go. He's gonna get a nice little production boost just for a little while. So I'm fully expecting that this is going to be adepts into oracles right here for MaxPax's, and I'm fully expecting Reynor to be defending. I feel like Reynor is incredibly good, especially when we get to the mid-game of a match of ZVP. So there's a lot of variety that Zerg players can throw into the game all of a sudden, be it a Roach Ravager push, or a Muta switch, or Hydra into Lurker, or Hydra Link Bane, or a Nidus follow-up, or a Queen drop. Like, there's about a million different options. Yeah, at the very least, that's what it feels like from the Protoss' perspective. There's about a million different options for the strategies that Zerg players can go for in the mid-game. Early game, yeah, Zerg can be a little predictable. It's just going to be Queens, Zerglings, and maybe Roaches. But the mid-game, suddenly, about a dozen different strategies that are all viable, they all open up. And then probably about 24 strategies that aren't really viable that can still catch you off guard if you're not paying very close attention. Alrighty, so it's Adept into Stalker. Nexus is gonna start up here 3 minutes and 41-ish seconds. That is exceptionally quick, especially considering that there is a Stalker out here. So MaxPax's on point here when it comes to his early game shenanigans. Yeah, you're gonna have to make the walk of shame all the way back. But this Overlord, look at him, not even trying to fly away. He wants to get vision of exactly when these gases are taken, and at the very least, that will be scouted. Are we gonna go? Yep, for the Creep Tumor. I think that makes a lot of sense. When your oracles do show up a little later because they were providing high ground vision, it's a little difficult to get those worker kills in. So I think we're gonna wait until there's a little bit more energy available and maybe a little bit more for tanking as well. One drone runs away. Good morphin right there into a Spore Crawler. Queen's already waiting around as well. Brenda herself in a little bit of trouble. Okay, getting the Queen kill, not bad whatsoever. Although it did come at just a little bit of an HP loss right here, right? Both of these oracles did take a bunch of hull damage. Uncharacteristic mistake right there for Reynor. He's actually incredibly good with his Queen control. I may even call him the best Queen controller in the world. I don't really know if that's a title, but I do think his Queen control is superb. Anyways, we've got ourselves our oracles and the adepts moving around. Mostly just settling for some of that creep tumor damage here. Okay. Getting one of the adepts. The other two adepts did sneak towards the natural. Good block right there with the evolution chamber. In the meantime, by the way, on the other side of the map, it is going to be the blink upgrade together with what will probably be the +1 ground upgrades here. There we go. In just about, well, right now. When I started that sentence, it was in just about a second, but he started it up while I was talking. So fun fact, actually, I think I have mentioned this before, but I think this is one of the coolest practice styles. One thing that Reynor does is play against his friends in Archon mode. So he will do, like, for example, a 1 versus 3 or a 1 versus 4 or a 1 versus 5, where he's got his friends, other pro gamers, playing, well, for example, Terran or Protoss all at the same time, and he will be facing off against them by himself. And apparently, because of that practice, so he did that for quite a while, because of that practice, he figured out that apparently you need 3 control groups for queens. One for inject, one for like the left side of the defense, I suppose, and then one for like the right side of the defense, so you can optimally spread that creep. So these lads, or these ladies, I guess, they're on one control group, and then you have a couple more as well in other control groups too. It's kind of a cool way to play the game. But apparently, you can still sometimes accidentally lose one of your queens if you're not paying very close attention. I think that was specifically for the Zerg versus Terran matchup, when Hellions are roaming the battlefield. So you can imagine if you have, I don't know, say a Hearthstone just dedicated to controlling Hellions. I mean, life does get a little scary. And you find out that maybe your previous way of defending was not perfect. Anyhow, Banelings morphing in outside of that vision range. There is an Oracle. But, yeah, I was gonna say, it's not quite far enough towards the left, and this can actually be quite annoying, because MaxPax's is currently very focused on his Stalkers here. +2 melee, coming up. More Zerglings are running on over towards the left side of the map. I think Reynor is waiting until Protoss is most likely distracted. Yep, so that is right now. The Zerglings are actually leading the charge. I wonder if they should have. Okay, well. Oh my god, what? Thought for a second he was not gonna get anything. Alright, Stalkers do get recalled. Quite a few Banelings and Zerglings here, yeah, end up going down. I don't know if I love that, to be honest. I mean, obviously it was a good trade there in the end for Reynor, but I feel like he could have done a little bit more. I feel like leading that fight with the Zerglings, so obviously MaxPax is gonna have, your probes are under attack, right? Like he's gonna get that notification. As soon as the Zerglings start nibbling here, then the Banelings slowly waddle on over. Yeah, not a huge fan. Baneling speed here, pretty late. +2 melee. Okay, that one's nice and early. Roach speed is gonna finish up as well at a moment, but I think if you're gonna lose 11 probes in the early mid-game, if you can take down that many Zerglings and Banelings in the process, you're probably not too sad about it. Colossus coming up right now. 4th Nexus, of course, very quick here as well by MaxPax's, so his economy is actually pretty absurd. Now, one thing that the top-level Zergs have all been doing, in basically every matchup, is rush up towards a hive. So, a Viper is already on the production tab. Adrenal Glands already researching. That's gonna make those +2 Zerglings incredibly strong. Very quick hives. They're all the rage these days, and well, can MaxPax handle it? MaxPax, of course, absolutely a grinder. It's not like he is somebody who will be caught off guard by changes in the meta, right? Sometimes players are not playing that much, but MaxPax is essentially online. I don't want to say 24/7, but probably about 12/7. Is that a thing? If I were to make a guess, he probably focuses on StarCraft 2. Probably like at least 12 hours a day. Anyways, we've got ourselves a little bit of a skirmish here in the middle of the map. MaxPax well aware of the fact that Zerg players like to play that hive tech quite a bit. Now he scouts it as well. Okay. So, MaxPax not really setting himself up for any sort of aggression here whatsoever. Yep, just playing the big macro game. So we'll have to see exactly where this leads. Obviously we had, okay, that's the Prism actually going down there. One control group of queens apparently, aided by the Vipers, ended up getting the snipe. Where exactly is this headed, MaxPax? Because we had Oracles, we had Adepts, right? Now we have another, I don't want to die to anything stupid type of army. But is this really capable of slowing down the Zerg? Well, at this point, Reynor is actually going into an Ultralisk cavern. Okay, nice stasis ward over there. Those Colossi, yeah. Just burning those Zerglings to death in just about a second. Not bad at all. Wonderful stasises. Lovely stuff here, honestly. There's a skirmish going on as well on the right side of the map, but it looks like Zerglings and Banelings should be able to clean up those Zealots with relative ease. So there's the +2 armor coming up together with the chitinous plating. So Reynor, against this particular style, is rushing out Ultralisks. How do you feel about Ultralisks here? I mean, is that something MaxPax's will expect, right? I think something like, for example, I don't know, Lurkers? Certainly not a bad choice. Something like Brute Lords? Also, pretty common decision from Zergs. Ultras, however, usually do not get chosen because, well, Protoss has quite a few good answers against Ultras. Most notably, if they find out early enough, they can go ahead and make a bunch of Immortals. At this point, though, I don't think we have any. Nope. Not a single Immortal is available. So a sudden Ultralisk transition may actually be able to catch the Protoss player off guard. Although, I'm not too happy about just 3. I kind of feel like you would want to suddenly whip out like 5, maybe 6 or so of them. 3 is... Okay, Immortal actually starts up. So MaxPax may have gotten a glimpse, or at the very least he's got a feeling that something is a little off. Maybe if it would have been Brute Lords or Lurkers, he would have already seen them. So in his mind, this is just not a good choice. Fully walled in over here on the left. Banelings are gonna commit there in the end, it looks like. So Reynor actually attack moved them up towards the high ground. He checks, sees the wall off, decides to go back. MaxPax just happily playing the macro game. Look at this guy. So Fleet Beacon coming up. Stargates coming up as well. So, interesting decision here for MaxPax. Most of the top level Protoss players are not comfortable playing the late game at all. They do not like to playing they don't really like to play the late game against Zerg. Especially somebody like Reynor. The guy's insanely good at, well, playing late game. Now the Ultralisk gets spotted. Immediately 2 Immortals fire up, and now more Ultras are coming. I don't think I love this here for Reynor. Although, all of that being said, of course, he has had a ridiculous economy here for a long time. Look at the bank at this point in the game. Both players essentially maxed out. Skytle's transition coming up here for MaxPax. That's gonna put him at nearly 200 supply. The Mama ship herself. +1 air weapons, being chrono boosted. And we had that Fleet Beacon and additional Stargates. Yep, already available right here for MaxPax. So, on the ladder, I would say that every single Zerg player hates playing against Skytles, okay? If you're a ladder hero, I think playing against Skytles as a Zerg is pretty bad. So, Protoss players, you should certainly focus on trying to get maxed out on carriers. However, at the professional level, especially at this level of StarCraft 2, so this is not even really the pro level, this is like the tippity top, you know, the upper echelons of the pro level. At this level, it seems like late game ZVP is in favor of Zerg, but that's mostly because of the fact that the top level Zergs are very good at controlling their units. Oh. Sorry, I gotta see what happened to that Immortal. Look at this absolute Giga Chad. He heard that his name was an Immortal, he gets abducted, and somehow he runs away. Alright, looks like this Immortal was mortal after all. Yeah, a little sad, but... I mean, to be fair, if you take the Immortals and Archons out of the equation here, Ultras walk all over this unit comp. Carriers are coming, and this is scouted here from a mile away by Reynor. He's got 1 Spire, no air upgrades at all, no missile research either. So if MaxPax manages to get to a Skytles-based army, Reynor is not prepared. Now he sees it coming, and he's not reacting really. Yeah, he's just going for a few Corruptors right now. No second Spire. I kind of feel like you need to get the second Spire going and really focus on getting that gas. Because carriers are coming, and yeah, okay, I was gonna say, we need something against it. So a second Spire indeed is coming up here. Reynor wants to start double upgrading those flying units of his as well. MaxPax taking a page out of Cure's book, or maybe Maru's book. Playing a very passive style against Zerg here. I think he should take this gas. I'm not sure, maybe the gas got destroyed by a bunch of Banelings or something, but I do believe that that one should be retaken. So currently, as far as units that should up go, we have Queens and 4 Corruptors, but that's it. Vipers, of course, also very scary. Interestingly enough, though, this is getting to a point where we can sort of consider it a Skytle's army, but most of the Protoss supply at this point is caught up into ground-based units. So Reynor recognizes that, and the few Corruptors that he's got, he's morphing them into Brute Lords. So we're going into 5 Brute Lords together with Ultralisks, together with Vipers and everything else that the late-game Zerg army can have, other than, I guess, Lurkers. We do not have Lurkers here. Surprisingly passive here from MaxPax's. Yeah. This happens a lot on the ladder. You will see this very frequently from, I want to say, Protoss players between like Platinum League all the way up to like mid Grandmaster. So that is a very large portion of the Protoss population. But at this level of play, usually this level of passivity is considered to be quite inferior for Protoss. Now, we don't have any Infestors, which is a bit interesting to me. So it's, sure, Brute Lords in pretty large numbers, because more Brutes are coming. A load of Ultralisks, some leftover Lingbane Ravager, and just a bunch of Spore Crawlers set up in key locations where Protoss is most likely to attack. +1/+1 coming up right now for the Corruptors. Okay, leftover Zerglings get morphed into Banelings, fair enough. Yeah, look at MaxPax's just slowly taking another expansion. I wonder if like a Nidus play or something like that would be a good choice here. The Mama ship moving all the way towards the left side of the map. She, of course, has an ability called Mass Recall that allows her to recall the entire Protoss army, well, in her direction. So this Protoss force here is currently on the right side of the map. It may just suddenly show up on the left. This Zealot here clearing a path as well, so at the very least checking whether or not it's safe. There is a Zergling on the watchtower, but I guess the mothership might be able to go completely around the site here. 2 more Stargates on the production tab. Looks like we actually did have an abduction right there. Yeah, maybe a prism. Okay, nothing all too scary. Mama ship just hanging out over there. Zealot moves forward, wants to see if it's safe. Will shut down the Zergling at the watchtower, and that's gonna prompt the mothership to move forward. Okay. Protoss maneuvering around the center of the map. But obviously the mothership is not over here, right? So you gotta be careful. That is a lot of Brute Lords. Man, this is a very, very tough army to crack. Now the mothership has found an angle, though. Are we gonna go for this base, or are we aiming for the main? I think we're aiming for the main base. Not a lot of supply available right now. Can we recall? Because the Corruptors are showing up. I think MaxPax's may have just gotten a little bit too greedy. Time Warp goes down, but that was a complete waste of a mothership. MaxPax's getting too greedy. He could have done the warp in over here. He could have even started the warp in and probably still completed it. But for some reason, he wanted to get the cake and then eat it too. Okay. So the mothership attempt. The experiment, apparently it failed. We're gonna replace any lost supply right now with carriers instead. What's always funny to me, right, is that like late game Zerg has gotten a lot of nerfs over the years. And still, after all of those adjustments, Zerg players still just seem to be so powerful in the late game. At least at this level of StarCraft 2. It's kind of wild. MaxPax's clearly has got different experiences, because he is more than happy to just play this long, drawn-out macro game here, but is this really going well for him? I'm not 100% sure. Look at these Ultras and Brute Lords just chasing down that ground army, absolutely decimating it. Recall is going to be utilized right here by MaxPax's, who needs to get the hell out of this position. Somehow, those Oracles were not caught in a recall circle. And Reynor, yep, we'll be able to shut down this base. So, effectively, the strategy right here for Reynor is soft contain the Protoss on 5 bases. Mothership, by the way, does get restarted, but soft contain the Protoss on this amount of bases and don't allow them another expansion. If Protoss moves out, preferably you want to fight on static defense. So, you know, the Spore Crawlers, the Spine Crawlers can help out, but also the Queens. But if you see an opportunity, just jump the army. And they make it look so easy, man. For those of you that are... Oh, we had a bit of a... I think a Baneling roll by here, yeah. So... I've been streaming for many, many, many years, right? In case you're unfamiliar, I stream most days between 2 and 8 p.m. Central European time. I usually am live over at twitch.tv/LowkoTV if you want to come say hi. Anyways, I have been struggling as a Zerg player against late game Skytles for many years. I've climbed all the way up to like 5.5k MMR, which is, I guess, in 2024 MMR, like mid-grandmaster. So, I practice, I put in the work. But for years, I have never been able to beat Skytles. I've just not been able to do it. And it's not for a lack of practice. I know exactly what to do. It just feels like I run out of APM, you know? I run out of hotkeys. Because this is not an easy Zerg army to control. And then I look at these games. And, I mean, obviously this is not over yet. But I kind of feel like this is headed in the direction where Reynor just wipes the floor with this late game Protoss army. Because every single time we have an engagement, it's Protoss who's on the run. And I feel like in my games, it's the exact opposite, you know? I'm always the one who's on the run, who's trying to stay alive. But Reynor somehow dominating the entire map. Nice little abduction over here. Gets one of the carriers. Brute Lords moving in here as well. Queens have brought the Spore Crawlers to the front. Okay, now, MaxPax's does have one hell of an army. This is a force that can certainly win the game. Ultras here get absolutely popped. One of them at the very least ends up going down, and the static defense is not going to be too far behind. Brute Lords in the meantime are taking down a Nexus. Bottom left and corner. Alright, probes wanted to mine there, but they found already that there was apparently a hatchery building. Okay, is there enough for Zerg to win this? Because maybe I'm misinterpreting this game. We're currently up to 22 Corruptors, and with Storms, oh, beautiful fungal. Is this something that Zerg can win the game with? Ultras coming in from the back, but it looks like, okay. Maybe there is an opportunity right here for MaxPax's. This is one hell of a force for Protoss. Parasitic Bomb goes down. Queens trying their very best to put in some work as well. MaxPax's trying to split against the Parabomb. Okay, the one carrier does indeed get picked out. Protoss economy is currently in tatters. Cloaking Field gets activated, but there is enough Overseer vision available here. Prismatic alignment on all of those Void Rays too. A couple of reinforcing units do show up. Brute Lords trying their very best. We are fighting within range of at least a few Spore Crawlers. I think the Zerg reinforcements are going to be able to seal the deal here. Yeah. Yep. Insane. GG. Alrighty. Game number 2. We find ourselves on the map Oceanborn. So where exactly did that go wrong for MaxPax's? Because obviously he is the one who decided the pacing of that match, right? Like he decided to play that late game and that passive style. He decided to turtle up. And Reynor had to follow suit. So where exactly did it go wrong? Well, first off, that mothership, I don't know what that was all about, okay? That mothership, it felt like he just had sent her in and then didn't pay attention to her for like, I don't know, 20 seconds or so, right? And then the Corruptors just sort of killed it. That was a bit awkward. I was hyping it up and then nothing happened. Secondly, the expansion all the way at the 3 o'clock position never really happened, right? And I wonder if there was an opportunity for MaxPax's to actually properly secure that one. Because I understand that you would have to give up some position on the left side of the map, but it's quite difficult to justify blowing up that entire wall with, for example, a bunch of banelings, right? Third, I think the engagements were not quite optimal. So we had a couple of big fungal growths going down, even though there was only like, I don't know, maybe 2 infestors made that entire game. A bunch of those carriers ended up getting abducted as well. We saw that Immortal getting abducted. I think it was a Prism, and that one may have been holding a bunch of Templar. I'm not exactly sure. So it's a couple minor errors that ultimately do make or break the game. I also quite like, though, that Reynor decided to use those Brute Lords offensively when Protoss decided to go across the map. Because shutting down that base, that 4th base, no, it was actually the 5th base, rather, that MaxPax's made, right? That final Nexus that we saw going down, that the Brute Lords killed, that was ultimately what pulled the trigger for MaxPax's to go all in. So he was already pretty far across the map, and he's like, well, I guess I gotta commit now. And then he decided to fight on creep with the Queens, with the Spore Crawlers present. I think there's a few things right there that could have gone a whole lot better for MaxPax's overall. And even though, yeah, in the end, the supply count was doubled by Reynor, that was still a very scary game for him. Because if one of those engagements would have gone slightly better, The amount of money in the bank is nice and all, but you may just be able to carve a path straight through all of those Zerg bases when you do have that maxed out Skytles army. So, anyways, long story short, we find ourselves now on the map Oceanborn. MaxPax 1-0 behind. Probably looking at that game and realizing, okay, made a couple errors. Could have done a few things better. Let's see what I can do right here on this map. Will we see a different approach here? Is he once again going to play that turtley style? I'm not so sure. I don't think I like it all too much. But then again, I guess trying to shut down a Zerg player of Reynor's caliber earlier on is not quite ideal. There's also a good chance that Reynor is actually going to mix it up a little bit, because obviously he's got some wiggle room here. This is a map that's quite good for example, a Queen March. So a Queen March in this direction, or even towards the natural. Very viable. You can go for a Queen Drop. It's actually a Void Ray first here. Okay. Void Ray first always makes it seem to me that Protoss is trying to hide something, but I'm not exactly sure if that's really the case. I think MaxPax really just wants to kill an Overlord. I still think going across the map with this Void Ray first and killing the... Why are we always going for the closest by Overlord kill first, right? Because what's going to happen here is that MaxPax is going to snipe this Overlord. And then these other Overlords are going to be flying back home. Wouldn't it be much better to send that first Void Ray across the map, kill this one, and then come back home and kill the second? It's not like that Overlord that is hanging out over here is really trying to achieve anything. I mean, it is trying, well, what it's trying to do is obviously scout whether or not it's a Skytles opener, but, well, believe it or not, when the Overlord dies to a Skytles unit, it is pretty clear that it's gonna be a Stargate first. Triple Stargate. Okay, MaxPax. So we are trying to hide something. Well, that explains why I decided to go for the close by Overlord first. Maybe if you go for the Overlord across the map first, you are saying to the Zerg, I'm not exactly sure actually, this is the first time I think of that, but maybe when you kill the Overlord on the other side of the map first and then you want to go back home to scout the Overlord there and kill him, right? Maybe that's telling to the Zerg that you are playing a normal follow-up. So this is triple Stargate Phoenix? Really? Triple Stargate Phoenix? I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think you can really afford chronoing them, can you? No, I think you keep chronoing the probes. And you just slowly produce these units instead. Okay. So the problem with Phoenixes is that they can't kill structures, right? They don't really end the game. What they can, of course, do is deal a whole lot of economical damage. So very frequently, at least in the early days of StarCraft 2, it's not a very common build anymore, but you would see Phoenixes swoop into a base, lift up about all the drones, and disappear after about 3 seconds, right? So they could basically kill an entire mineral line worth very rapidly. And obviously the Phoenixes are also quite good defensively, because, well, you can still kill all of the units by lifting them up at home. How many do you wait for until you show them? Apparently right now is that moment. Reynor's gonna see the Phoenixes at this point, and he's gonna have to respond. What exactly is the response going to be? Okay, Spore Crawlers immediately start up. Gas Geysers also do begin. Queens, push pretty far forward. Okay. Triple Stargate Phoenix, So where do you go from there, right? So like I was saying, I don't think you can really lean into the Phoenixes themselves that much. We're going into the +1 air weapons. I think he's just playing straight Skytles from here. As a Zerg, I think your best approach against this sort of thing, because you're always going to be taking damage, you can't really avoid taking damage, is just to overmake queens and drones. Because again, the odds of the Protoss player actually going for any, like, say like a charge follow-up, I guess that's the only real scary thing. But you don't really need a lot of attacking units. Instead though, apparently Reynor decides to, well, replace some of the drones that he just lost. Remake some of the queens that he just lost, but he's going into a Nidus network together with Mass Roach. Okay. This will be scouted right now by MaxPax. Ooh, yeah, he does see it. Okay, he clicked it, so he knows what he's playing against. Void Rays are immediately started up here at home. Double Robo Facility as well on the back of this, together with a Forge as well as a Twilight Council. We have a lot of energy available right now on the Nexi, which is actually a pretty big misplay. Phoenix is, of course, still not capable of shutting down a Nidus Worm. Triple Stargate. I don't think I like Triple Stargate Phoenix very much. And I understand the irony here, because I was criticizing, maybe not criticizing, but I was mentioning that Mr. MaxPax sometimes plays a little bit too predictable. This is really lovely defense, though. Problem is, Phoenixes are spellcasters. Yeah, they don't have infinite energy, so a lot of these Phoenixes are already running low. Immortals and Void Rays are gonna be the best option here for MaxPax. He's currently in a really good position, though. 4th hatchery coming up all the way at the top of the map. That is a scary Zerg force. Roach Ravager all in here, together with Queens. And it's a bit awkward, because those Queens obviously are slow. They can no longer transfuse off creep. Charge coming up right now for MaxPax. He's feeling pretty comfortable. I wanted to say confident and comfortable at the same time. Comfortable. Very nice. This is a scary Zerg force, but also a very committed push here from Reynor. He's trying to tiptoe around this. Trying his very best. Raining biles whenever possible. The more time goes by right now, though, the better this is going to be right here for MaxPax. Even a few spore crawlers were brought across. Obviously, those were drones that had to be morphed into spores. A lot of static defense setup. I like the positioning of it quite a bit. Oh, that is such a large Zerg army, though. Man, 190 plus supply versus 150-ish for the Protoss. Battery overcharge on the shield battery all the way in the back. Phoenixes, hello, you guys gotta join in. Phoenixes were sleeping on the job right there for a little while. Okay, now we're finally starting to lift up some units, but quite a few of them were idling. I think he assumed that they were, well, at the very least engaged against that Zerg force. I don't love the Phoenix control here, guys. Still, though, Immortals are putting in a lot of work. That shield battery overcharge helped out a ton. Battery overcharge is going to be available again in about 40-ish seconds. And this does look like a fight that can last quite a while. Do we have enough? I don't think there is quite enough here for the Protoss, is there? Not yet, anyways. 2 more Immortals are just about to pop. Yeah, when another Warpin is available, it might just be holdable. Phoenixes are slowly accumulating some energy once more. I think MaxPax could have done a slightly better job with the Phoenix control during all of that, because last time or the first time I checked them, they were just sort of flying there, right? Like, I think he assumed that they were fighting, but they weren't. They were just idling for just a moment. Unless I'm mistaken, but... Another battery overcharge. This one was indeed a little preemptive. MaxPax a bit trigger happy there. 50 supply lead advantage still right here for Reynor. Even more than that. Spore crawlers are moving up towards the high ground as well. Slow pushing that creep right now is Reynor. Gets another Immortal snipe in as well. Immortals, yeah, they are the most key unit here. Charge is done for the Zealots at the very least. Phoenixes fly away from those corrosive biles. Reynor trying to just dance here with his army to the best of his abilities. Shield batteries all pretty much out of energy. New one just spawned with at least a bunch of it, but the Immortals are far away. Natural expansion, not quite good enough there either to keep that Immortal alive. Reynor with an insane attack here. Dark Shrine starts up right now for MaxPax. That's when you know things are getting a bit desperate. Obviously, the Spore Crawlers are also detectors, so I don't think I love the follow-up here. Man, how many Immortals have gone down? 9. Yeah, for every 2 Zealots, we've had an Immortal going down. That's huge. GG is called because of it. It's Reynor who absolutely slams down MaxPax's Phoenix opener in game number 2.